Welcome back for another exciting web development project. In this project, we are building a dark mode toggle button. You can see the final project has a toggle button. When you switch it on, the page turns dark. Flipping the switch back returns you to the light mode. You will also notice a very smooth animation. The toggle slides elegantly from one side to the other. We will learn how to use CSS keyframes. This will let us create a beautiful sliding animation. We will use JavaScript to update the background color. This change happens whenever we flip the switch on or off. We will store the user's preferred mode in the browser's local storage. This ensures their selection is remembered. After refreshing the page, you can see the dark mode persists. This confirms our settings are saved properly. We can switch the toggle back to light mode. The page will refresh and remain in light mode. This demonstrates the saved preference is working correctly. This ensures the user's preferred mode is always remembered. They will see the same setting when they return to the site. Let's dive into building our project. We will start by creating the HTML structure. This foundation will support our dark mode toggle. Let us dive into the HTML structure in the next section. Welcome to the first step of our project. Let's begin by opening up Visual Studio Code on our computer. We close the Get Started tab first. Then we navigate to the File menu. We select the Open Folder option from that menu. I will create my project folder on the desktop. You can choose any location on your computer. We will click on the desktop. Then we select the New Folder button. This action creates a brand new folder. Let's give this new folder a name. We will call it Dark Mode Toggle. This is the official name for our project. Press the Enter key to confirm the folder name. Next, click on the new folder to open and select it. We close the Get Started tab one more time. On the left side, find the Explorer section. Right-click in the empty space there. Select the New File option from the menu. This will create our new HTML file. We name this new file index.html. After that, we press the Enter key to confirm the file name. You can now see your index.html file on the right-hand side. It has been successfully created and is ready for you to edit. To quickly generate the basic HTML structure, type an exclamation mark. This creates a standard HTML5 document template. We simply type an exclamation mark on the keyboard. Then, we select the first autocomplete suggestion that appears. Let's use the keyboard shortcut Alt-Z to activate word wrap. This will make the code much easier to read. The document type declaration appears at the top. It tells the browser which HTML version we are using. Our page is written in the latest HTML5 standard. Since we are using HTML5, the document type declaration is very simple. We only need the word HTML in this section. Next comes the HTML tag itself. This main container wraps around two important sections. These sections are the head and the body tags. This attribute tells the browser the page's language. We set it to English for correct text interpretation. Since our page is in English, we set the language to EN. This ensures the browser correctly identifies the language being used. Inside the head tag, we have three meta tags. We also have a title tag here. The charset attribute defines the HTML character encoding. The UTF-8 standard is recommended by HTML5. It covers nearly all characters and symbols in the world. This ensures your website visitors can read all the content correctly. This next meta tag is specifically for Internet Explorer. It instructs the browser to use its most modern rendering engine. That engine is called Edge. This viewport meta tag instructs the browser about page sizing. It controls how the content scales on different screens. This part of the command defines the page width. It ensures the width always matches the device's screen size. This viewport setting adjusts the page width to match the device screen. On a mobile device, the website will fit the phone's width perfectly. On a larger computer screen, the content will appear much wider. This viewport tag also determines the page's starting zoom level. It ensures the page initially loads at 100% zoom. The title tag is very important for your web page. It defines the text that appears in the browser's tab. Let's see our changes in real time. We can use the Live Preview extension for this. We can right-click on the file. Then we select the Live Preview option. We choose Show Preview from that menu. A preview of our web page now appears on the right-hand side. You can see the default title is currently set to Document. We can close this Explorer section so we can have more space for coding and seeing the browser. Let's update the title of our page. We will make it match the name of our folder. The new title will be Dark Mode Toggle. You can see the new title in the browser's title bar. Next, we place an input element inside the body section. We define its type to be a checkbox. This input does not need a name attribute for our project. We can leave it out of our code completely. We assign an ID of dark mode to this input element. We also give it a class of input for styling purposes. We will style this element later using CSS. The class we just added will make that possible. Next, we create a label specifically for this input. The input has an ID of dark mode. Therefore, the label's for attribute must also be set to dark mode. We also assign a class of label to this label element. Inside this label, we create a div element. This div is given a class called circle. This circle currently appears as a simple empty shape. We will design its appearance using CSS in a later step. When we click the toggle, the circle slides to the right. If we click it again, the circle moves back to the left. Our HTML structure is now complete and ready for the next step. We will begin styling the button using CSS in the following section. The next step involves styling our toggle button. We will use CSS for this purpose. That completes our HTML structure for the toggle. We will begin styling it with CSS in the next video. In our previous section, we completed all the HTML for our project. We have added an input element to our project. It has a class named checkbox. You can see this element displayed in the browser. We added a label element to our project. Inside this label, we placed a div element. This div has been assigned a class named circle. We are now ready to make our project look visually appealing. We will begin styling our project using CSS. The next step is creating a new CSS file. This file will hold all of our styling instructions. Let's open the File Explorer panel now. You can press Ctrl-Shift-E on your keyboard. Alternatively, use the View menu and select Explorer. I personally prefer using the keyboard shortcut. I press Ctrl-Shift-E to do this. We will right-click in the Explorer section on the left. Then we select the New File option to create our CSS file. We will call this file style.css. We press the Enter key to confirm the new file. To use our CSS file, we must link it to our HTML document. We will add a link element inside the head section. Let's navigate back to the index.html file. We need to place a link tag inside the head section. This link tag goes right after the title tag. Simply start typing the word link. Then select the third autocomplete suggestion for CSS. We have successfully linked our CSS file to the HTML document. The link tag establishes a relationship with our external style sheet. Its href attribute points to the style.css file. Since both files are in the same folder, no additional path is required. We save the file with the link tag in place. We return to our new style sheet to begin writing our CSS. Let us begin by styling the label element. We need to make it visible on the page. This will allow us to see our progress. We are targeting the label element with a class. We add a dot before the class name. Then we open a set of curly braces for our styles. Let's set the label's dimensions. We will give it a width of 80 pixels. We will also set the height to 40 pixels. The label's background is currently white and blends into the page. We should change its background color to a light gray. Now we can clearly see the element on the screen. The label is not visible right now. We need to position it absolute to see it. Let's position this label using absolute positioning. This will give us precise control over its placement on the page. We will place the label inside the body tag. We use absolute positioning to control its width and height precisely. We can now see the label appear on the screen. Let us add a border to this element. We will make the corners of the label perfectly round. We set the border radius to 20 pixels. This value is half of the label's 40 pixel height. It creates completely rounded corners on our element. Let's make that checkbox invisible. We can do this by targeting the inputs class. We are going to target the input element by its class. We will set its visibility property to hidden. This will make the checkbox disappear from view. We select the second option from the auto suggestion list. Let us center the toggle on the page. We will achieve this by applying styles to the body section. Let's style the body element next. We start by removing the default margin. We set the margin property to 0. Next, we change the display to flex. This allows us to center the toggle easily. We set the height to 100 viewport height. We use Justify Content Center for horizontal alignment. Then we use Align Items Center for vertical alignment. The current layout looks good with the label centered perfectly. Let's style the element with the class of circle. We will define its appearance and position. Let's go ahead and style the circle. We will give it a width and a height. Now we will define the width for our circle element. We will set the width to 34 pixels. Let's make the circle visible by changing its background color to red. We will also set its height to 34 pixels. We can see the circle appear in the browser now. Let's make it perfectly round using a border radius of 50%. We also need to set its top position to 3 pixels. This requires us to set the circle's position to absolute. The dimensions for the circle are set to 34 pixels. This specific size is chosen because the label's height is 40 pixels. Our label height is 40 pixels. The circle inside is 34 pixels tall. Subtracting gives us 6 pixels of total space. We will split this space evenly above and below. This gives us 3 pixels of padding on the top. It also gives 3 pixels of padding on the bottom. This positioning ensures the circle is perfectly centered within the label. We have an equal amount of space on all sides. We also need to shift the circle 3 pixels from the left. This final adjustment centers the circle perfectly. Let's change the circle's background color to white. This gives us a clean and attractive toggle switch. That completes the styling for our basic toggle switch. Our next goal is to change the background color. This should happen whenever the user clicks the toggle. We should change the cursor style to a pointer. This provides a clear visual cue for users. We see a pointing hand cursor when hovering over the label. This indicates the element is interactive. We then create a rule for when the checkbox input is checked. When the box is checked, we want to modify the label's background color. We can add a conditional statement for when the checkbox is selected. When it is checked, we can change the label's background color. For example, we can set the background color to a salmon shade. You can now see the background color change when you click. This provides immediate visual feedback for your toggle action. Our next goal is to move the circle to the right. This will happen whenever we click the label. Let's add an animation to make the circle move. This will happen when someone clicks the toggle. To create this animation effect, we must define a keyframes rule. Next, we will define a keyframe animation. We need to give this animation a specific name. Let's create a keyframe animation for the toggle. We will name this animation Toggle On. At the start of the animation, at 0%, we set the transform property. We set the translation along the x-axis to 0 pixels. Then we copy this keyframe block for the 100% state. At the end of the animation, we want the circle on the right side. We will transform it by moving it 40 pixels to the right. The label we are styling has a total width of 80 pixels. This is the container for our toggle switch. Our label has a total width of 80 pixels. The circle inside it is 34 pixels wide. We also want a 3 pixel gap on the right side. We will set the transform to 40 pixels for this position. This gives us exactly the distance we need. Let's turn on Alt-Z to see all of our code. We will set this animation for the toggle off state. This is for when the circle moves back to its original position. When we click the toggle again, the circle should slide back to its original position. This animation needs to work in the opposite direction. For the toggle off animation, the starting position should be 40 pixels. The final position should be 0 pixels. Now we will add the animation. We need to create a condition for it. This condition will target the input when it is checked. Inside the label, we will also target the circle element. We target the circle inside the label by using the dot selector. This circle will now have an animation named Toggle On applied to it. We set the animation duration to 0.4 seconds. The animation timing function should be set to linear. We also set the animation fill mode to forwards. Let's click on the label. We can see the circle moving to the right. We use the forwards value for a specific reason. Without it, the animation does not remain in its final state. When you click the toggle, the circle moves to the end. It then immediately snaps back to its starting position. The forwards value makes the circle stay at its end position. This keeps it locked on the right side after you click. We want the circle to move back when we click again. This animation should trigger from the right position. We will add the toggle off animation to the circle element. We will call this animation toggle off. It has a duration of 0.4 seconds. The timing function is set to linear. The animation will also use the fill mode of forwards. Our animation is now working perfectly. The toggle moves smoothly from one side to the other. Our next step involves adding JavaScript to the project. We will introduce interactivity with JavaScript code. Next, we will add a dark mode effect to the body section. We also need to save this user preference. We will store the mode setting in the browser's local storage. Once a visitor enables dark mode, their preference is saved. Every future visit will automatically display the website in dark mode. We will explore how to implement this feature in the next section. In our previous section, we completed all the styling for the project. We used CSS to make everything look great. We created a smooth animation for our toggle bar. This animation makes the switch look dynamic and interactive. In this section, we will make our project interactive. We are going to add functionality using JavaScript. Our goal is to switch the body's background to a dark theme. This change happens when the user toggles the switch on. We will then revert it to a light theme. This reversion occurs when the user toggles the switch off. We will also save the user's chosen mode. This data will be stored in the browser's local storage. This way, returning visitors will always see their preferred mode. The website will remember their dark mode setting. Our first step involves creating a new JavaScript file. This file will contain all the code for our project's functionality. We navigate to the left side of the editor. We find the File Explorer section there. We perform a right-click with the mouse. Then we select the New File option from the menu. This will create our new JavaScript file. Let's give our file a name. We will call it index.js. We bring our new JavaScript file into the project window. As you may know, we must link this file to our HTML. We add a link to the JavaScript file within our HTML code. Let's navigate back to our HTML file. We will add a script tag just before the closing body tag. We type the letters SC. Then we select the second auto-suggestion. This is the one that includes the src attribute. Both our files are in the same main project folder. This means they share the same directory location. For our source attribute, we can just type index.js as the path. Our JavaScript file is now properly connected. We can start writing our interactive code. Our first task in the JavaScript file is to select the input element. We need to work with this toggle input. We need to determine the current state of our toggle input. Specifically, we want to know if it is checked or unchecked. This input element has a class of input. We can select any element by its class. We use the query selector method for this. We are going to create a constant variable for our input element. We use the document's query selector method to select it. Inside the parentheses, we write .input to target the input class. Let's enable word wrap by pressing Alt and Z together. This will make our code much easier to read on the screen. Let's log the input element to the console now. We simply type the variable name input element. Next, we open the browser's developer tools. We can find the console panel inside the dev tools. There, we see the logged input, which is a checkbox. We can check the input's current state. We add the .checked property. By default, this value is set to false. Let us refresh the page now. We can observe that the value remains false. We have successfully confirmed that the checkbox starts in the unchecked state. When the toggle is off, the body should be in light mode. When the toggle is on, we switch to a dark background. We will create a function called updateBody. This function will check if the input is checked. If the condition is true, we will change the body element's style. Currently, we have not selected the body element in our JavaScript code. We need to access this element to change its background color. To select the body element, we can use the querySelector method. This method works perfectly for selecting any HTML tag. We will now select the body element from our document. We use the querySelector method for this task. Inside the parentheses, we simply type the word body. We set the body element's background color using the style property. We check if the toggle is on. If it is checked, we set the background to black. If the toggle is not checked, we set the background to white. We have successfully implemented the color change logic. The background now switches between black and white. At this point in our code, the checkbox is unchecked. This means the current status is set to false. We will manually set the input's checked property to true. This is a good way to test our function. Let's call the function to update the body. We do this by writing updateBody. You can see the body's background color has changed to black. If we switch the checked value to false, the background returns to white. Next, we will add an event listener to our toggle input. This listener will specifically watch for a change event. When we toggle the switch on, we update the body's appearance. This update is based on the current check status of the input. Now we need to add an event listener to the input element. We have already selected the input using its class. We have already selected the input element. Now we add an event listener to it. We use the inputElement.addEventListener method. We will listen for the input event. This event triggers whenever the toggle switch changes its state. All we have to do is call our updateBody function. This will apply the new background color. We call this updateBody function within our event listener. This ensures the function runs every time the toggle is clicked. When we toggle the switch on, the page transitions to dark mode. When we toggle it off, the page returns to the light or daytime theme. Our toggle functionality is now working perfectly. The background changes smoothly between light and dark modes. Let's make this color change smoother. We will add a transition effect to the body. This makes the visual change more pleasing to watch. Let us add a smooth transition to the body element. We will set the transition duration to 0.4 seconds. Now you can see the color change happen smoothly. The transition makes the effect much more pleasant to watch. Our next step involves saving the user's preference. We need to store the toggle state in the local storage. This will say whether the mode is on or off. The next step involves saving user preferences. This ensures a returning visitor sees the same mode. Their previous setting is automatically applied. Next, we need to create a new function. We will call this function updateLocalStorage. We will use the browser's local storage for this task. We will save this setting with the key name mode. We need to convert the checkbox state to a string. Local storage cannot save raw, true, or false values directly. We will use the JSON object for this task. It helps us convert the Boolean value into a string format. It looks like we have a small typo in our code. We need to capitalize the JSON method we are using. We should capitalize JSON correctly when writing it. It stands for JavaScript Object Notation. We need to convert the checkbox state into a string for storage. This is done using the stringify method on the input element's checked property. We write inputElement.checked inside the parentheses. Let us now open the Web Developer Tools. Navigate to the Application panel on the left. Inside this panel, select Local Storage and then choose our website's address. We need to call our function as well. We need to update the local storage. We should do this inside the event listener. This happens right after we update the body. When we click the toggle button, we can see the result. A new key appears in the local storage panel. This key is named Modes, and its value is set to true. When we toggle the switch off, the stored value changes to false. We have set the toggle to true and refreshed the page. The setting remains true in the local storage. We must now initialize this value when the page loads. We cannot simply set the input element check property to false. We need to retrieve the saved value from local storage instead. We retrieve the saved mode from local storage. We use the getItem method for this task. The specific item we want to get is called mode. Let's check what we have in local storage now. We can see the value is true. The value we get from local storage is always a string. We must convert this string back to a true or false value. We can easily do this using the JSON parse method. We need to parse this string back into a Boolean value. This conversion allows our code to correctly understand the saved setting. As you can see, the toggle mode is currently set to false. This means the light mode is active. We can turn the toggle on manually. A user can now leave our website and return later. When they refresh the page, the website will still be displayed in dark mode. You can see the persistent setting working here. Let us improve the appearance of this button. We can make it look more polished. Let's improve the toggle button's appearance for dark mode. We will change the salmon color to white. We will also change the circle's background color to black. The toggle button now looks much more polished. It has a clean white color in dark mode. The circle's background becomes black for a sleek appearance. That concludes our project for this tutorial. We have successfully built a dark mode toggle with local storage. I hope you enjoyed building this project with me. You have learned several important concepts about adding functionality with JavaScript. I hope you enjoyed building this project. I look forward to our next coding adventure together.